Good morning, friends. My son Cooper and I welcome you to First United Methodist Church of Myrtle Beach. We're delighted to have you worship with us. 3,000 years ago, the psalmist wrote words that are relevant to this very day. Words about clean hands and a pure heart. Stay with us. It is a powerful moment. It is a moment for great heart, for great strength, for us to stand and affirm who we are and what we believe. But too often, when we speak the creed, it's a lot like that kiss at the door as we rush off to work. Too many times we stand in this place, and from my vantage point, we say, I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, His only Son, our Lord, conceived somewhere. I do look, and I do see. And somewhere along the way, it has lost some of its power. Not because of God, but because of us. You see, I believe is not the same thing as saying I feel, or I want, or I think. I believe does not express an opinion. I believe means I promise. And when spoken, I believe in God, we are actually saying, I give myself and my life to God and God alone. I stake my life on God. I will build my life on this truth given to me through the faith. And I will build my soul and my life on this truth. That is what we're saying when we stand in this place and say, I believe in God. We're saying, I promise. The people of Israel in this psalm are saying, we give ourselves to God. Our lives will be built on God's truth. We order our lives in the image of the holy. And that calls for surrender. And it calls for us to honor God. And the words they use are these: clean hands, pure heart. Those who do not swear deceitfully. They are the ones who can stand in God's holy place. So for us to be able to stand in that holy place, for us to abide with God, there's some things that I believe we must do. And the first one is this: we are told to have clean hands. Yeah. Now, there's a story told of a youngster who came in from an afternoon of hard playing and went straight to the dinner table. I've seen that movie. And his mother said, oh, no, you don't. To the bathroom, wash your hands, germs all over you, go over there and wash your hands. So dutifully, he lowers his head, he goes and he washes. He comes straight back to the table, picks up his fork, starts to eat. She says, hold the phone. I've seen that movie too. We're going to thank God for our food, so bow your head, fold your hands, and say the blessing. He folds his hands, he bows his head, but before he prays, he says this: germs in God, germs in God. That's all I ever hear, and I haven't seen either one of them. Now, let me say this quickly. Clean hands are important, but when the psalmist speaks of clean hands, the psalmist is not talking about a washing ritual. Clean hands mean that our hands are not actively involved in bringing harm to another soul. And that is a very good word in a community that's facing an election where there's plenty of harm being done by plenty of people, all in the name of what they think is right. God is watching. Be mindful of it. Speak the truth, say what needs to be said, but do not damage other lives. It is not our privilege. To have clean hands means that our hands are not involved in doing anything that hurts another soul, because the Lord is intent on building up things, not putting down things. Our faith builds up, it does not tear down. That's a good lesson for the believers. It's a good lesson for the church. I love the church with all my heart, but let me tell you something. Somehow, some way, church for many has become this place for registering complaints about what we don't like about a variety of things, whether it be people, circumstances, issues, you name it, people got it. Our whole society is good at complaining. And so now, even the church becomes this place of everybody having to say what they don't like or what's not going right or what everything. Now, let me quickly tell you. I'm not talking about a specific situation going on in this church. So do not call me this afternoon and say, Ken, is there something going on in the church? I am talking about the whole church. But we have become some of the best complainers about life and things that this world has ever seen. To have clean hands simply means that we use our energy to build up, as does the Lord, instead of putting down and hurting. Yeah. The second thing we have to do is to have pure hearts. We don't talk about purity much these days because it's believed that to be pure is to be perfect, and everyone knows that they can't be perfect because they're human. Hear me clearly. Being pure doesn't mean perfect. Pure describes a process through which certain unacceptable things are removed from our substance. It's a continuous act. We are continually striving to become pure. Aren't there things in each of us that would be best removed? Animosity, hatred, stubbornness, pride, revenge, an independent spirit, one that doesn't mind even being independent from God. Having a pure heart suggests having a heart that works at removing things that do not match the image of a holy God. Which brings us to the third thing. Do not swear deceitfully. To swear deceitfully is to lie. Believers who claim to live on the truth are expected to speak the truth. There is no such thing as an innocent lie. There's no such thing as a little lie. A lie is a lie is a lie. Never is there an occasion when God lies to His people, even to protect our feelings. To claim to be God's children is to claim God's character. And the church suffers when Christians stretch the truth, when we don't tell the truth. In fact, it's one reason that some today have issues with the church. They see no difference in the lives of some believers from unbelievers. To live in such a way damages the credibility of the God we worship. It makes God seem shallow, and people today are seeking a deeper relationship. They're seeking a deep faith, but too often all they see is a shallow God. Our faith must be deeper. We must commit ourselves to the truth. And that means that one of the things we must give up today, right now, this moment, forever, is walking up to somebody else and saying, have you heard about thus and so? Have you heard about this and that? Because I want to say it clearly and I don't want to be misunderstood. Gossip is a sin. Give it up. There comes a time to give it up. And one of the reasons that the church today struggles in the hearts and lives of so many people is that we are not claiming the reality that to be a Christian means that we are not like everybody else. Clean hands, pure hearts, not swearing deceitfully, in a world that needs to stand in God's holy place and to know the King of glory.